then I'm getting a divorce.
Huh? Wait a minute. That's so sudden. See, that thing.
My husband was more flustered than I had ever seen him before. But it was my mother-in-law who spoke up here. Hey, Daniel, don't get upset. You're pathetic. You know what your mother always says. A wife listens to her husband. That's fine. She's divorcing you. It's outrageous for a wife to disobey her husband. If you don't like it, just leave.
No, well, that's true.
I'm not asking you to leave. I'm already divorced, so it's inevitable that I'll have to leave. You're a woman of few words. I didn't like her from the beginning. What a coincidence. I hated you from the very beginning, too. My name is Clara, and I work for a company. My husband Daniel and I decided to get married after 6 months of dating, and we have been married for over 2 years. I loved his willingness to make decisions about things. I think this is largely due to my upbringing, as I am the middle child of 3 sisters. And although I am usually the softer of the two, I am the eldest, and I am also younger than my eldest sister. I am sandwiched between the eldest, who is usually soft and reserved, and the third, who is the youngest, but has great leadership qualities. Whenever we have family events or invited people from my father's business to our house, I always followed them. I can't say that such an environment affected me, but I am not good at deciding things. And the bigger the issue is, the more I think in circles. In the end, I always have a hard time coming up with a coherent thought. When I was living at home, I was able to live comfortably as long as I kept up with them. I think that's why I was able to rely on my husband's proactive approach to making decisions. However, I am more particular about things than most people. I am proud of this. I wonder if it is because we 3 sisters are close in age. When I was little, I was often scolded by my father for being jointly and severally responsible for my sister's actions, perhaps because of my father's personality. The older and younger sisters were quick to apologize to my father. I would never apologize if I didn't agree with him. I was made to sit on my knees as a punishment, and even after an hour or 2 had passed, I never apologized. My eldest sister got worried. Just say you're sorry and everything will be okay. She would say that in front of our father, and he continued to get even angrier at me. I caused a lot of trouble to my eldest and youngest sisters because of my persistence. Now it is one of our family's funny stories, but to put it simply, I would like to say, I leave it to others to make decisions, but I agree with myself. I am the kind of person who leaves decisions to others, but stubbornly refuses to agree to anything I don't agree with. My husband is a very special person who fell in love with me and asked me to marry him. Since my husband and I got married, our life has been peaceful. My husband, who knows all about my particularities, never steps into my points of view. I like this life very much. Then my husband suggested that we buy a home.
Hey, we have been married for 2 years already. Why don't we consider buying your own home soon?
Oh, that sounds great.
I know it's a long way off, but I want our kids to have a great time growing up. Besides, Clara, you got a lot of problems with renting, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. We've been living in a rented apartment since we got married, and I was concerned about the noise. If I slept in my bedroom, I would wake up at 5 a.m. to the sound of the TV set of the people living below me. On weekends, the residents next door sing loudly with guitars in their hands. My house was a corner room on the top floor of a 6-story apartment building. From the walkway in front of our front door, we could see the beautiful Diamond Head in the distance if it was a clear day. Some residents go out of their way to see it. They are sitting in front of our front door, talking with their phones in their hands and saying Diamond Head is so beautiful here. Some residents don't leave the spot for a long time. The guitar is at a noise level that my husband can hear. My husband can't hear the sounds of the resident below. So I am aware that my ears are too sensitive, but I was somewhat stressed about waking up at 5 a.m. every morning. Plus, I was very concerned about the sound I was making. I even wore fuzzy slippers to try to reduce the noise as much as possible. I tried to reduce the noise as much as possible by wearing fuzzy slippers, but my husband was walking with a thump with his bare feet. I was so stressed that I didn't want to bother people. Anyway, my head is working to avoid bothering other people. That's why I was so happy when my husband said, "Let's buy our own home." I was really happy that he took my personality into consideration, not to mention our children. My husband was determined to buy a custom-built home and was determined to start from the land. I agreed with him, and we spent our holidays looking for lands. We found the land within 3 months, and when it came to sign the contract,
I'm thinking $2 million for the land as a deposit and $3 million for the house. Is that okay?
okay, but how much do I have to pay?
You don't have to pay, Clara. I'll pay from my savings.
Aha, I see.
I'll pay the mortgage, so I want Clara to pay for living expenses.
Okay, let's do that. The roles of each of us were decided fairly easily. Then the search for a home builder began, and I, who was not particularly about a home builder, followed my husband's decision. However, when we finally signed the contract with the home builder and proceeded to the layout arrangement, my in-laws showed interest in it. Wait, you've already discussed the floor plan, right? Let me see it.
Oh yeah.
That day, as soon as they came to our house, they were all over the floor plan. Oh, this kitchen is no good.
What? Is it?
Yeah. What do you call the separate kitchen table? Irish kitchen, is it? Is it an island-style kitchen? Well, it doesn't matter what it's called either way, but not this one. The kitchen is in full view of the others. Make it an L shape. I don't care what you call it, but I do, don't you? Why does my mother-in-law get to decide? My husband preferred that style kitchen, so there's nothing wrong with that. Me and Daniel prefer an island-style kitchen, so there's no problem. Then my mother-in-law glares at me, and then my husband, who rushes to intervene.
Oh, well, it's still in the proposal stage, not a decision. Why don't we just talk about it some other time?
My husband's statement misses the point entirely. Instead, why can't he just say,
It's me and Clara's house, so it's none of your business, Mother.
After that, my mother-in-law kept saying that we should take more different styled room layouts, and the house should be barrier-free, and so on. She put words in my mouth as if she herself was a resident here. I remember my father-in-law also said that we should build a porch. I don't think so, but I think I should hit the nail on the head here. Hey, the new house is where Daniel and I are going to live, right? I posed the question to my husband after my in-laws got home.
Yes, that's right.
Only me, you, and the kids will live there, right?
Why?
Why? Because I'm not going to live with your parents.
Is that for life?
Yeah.
You don't have to say it so clearly.
If you don't make these things clear, you'll get into trouble later on. Besides, we talked about this when we started looking for a place, right? I told you that I would not live with my parents and I would not live with your parents. You agreed to that, didn't you?
Well, yes, but what about a lifetime? Even Clara's parents will have to take care of our child in the future.
They won't come. They are even looking for a home for the elderly, saying that children have their own life. And they already have a cemetery.
Isn't that a little bit too cold?
Cold? What do you mean?
No, that means you won't take care of your parents at all, right?
No, I will.
Oh, I don't understand.
If my parents are in trouble, I'll help them. That's a given. No matter how many nursing homes I look for, if my parents become sick, I will go and take care of them. What I don't tolerate is people who take it for granted that they have to take care of their children. My parents are people who try to avoid being a burden in their children's lives.
Does that mean my parents are people who are a burden to their kids?
To put it bluntly, yes. It means I can see glimpses of it. Because why do they meddle so much in our home affairs? We're independent, you know. If If it's advice, I'll gladly accept it. But today, they're just trying to make themselves feel better. It looked to me like they were ordering us around because they're moving into a new house with us.
That's not true.
I see. Was I mistaken? Then I'm sorry. So even if we finish the new house in the future, I won't be living with your parents, right?
Never.
I see. I'm glad to hear that. I must have been mistaken. I'm sorry. I got the word out of my husband here that his parents would never live together. After that, his parents continued to meddle. This would be a straight line of living together no matter how you looked at it. If my in-laws are of good character, there is still some room to think about it. And if my husband had made it clear at the beginning that he wanted to live with them, there would be room to think about it in a certain way. I would have some room to think about it. However, I think my husband intends to force us to live together once the house is completed. And I don't like my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is a gossipy person, and she is always looking for something to gossip about. There are several small houses right in front of my mother-in-law's house. My mother-in-law knows when they drive in and out and when they leave on their bicycles. She knows the whole process. This is because she peeks through the lace curtains every time she hears a sound. I am always disgusted by my mother-in-law's behavior. Well, if there is only one person like this in the neighborhood, I guess the security is protected to a certain extent. I hate my mother-in-law's behavior. I don't think she cares about other people. If someone is in trouble, you help them. That should be enough. And she only speaks ill of others, which I also dislike. My mother-in-law, when she opens her mouth, says that she doesn't hate me, that I'm not a bad person. But in the end, she always says bad things about people, and it leaves a really bad feeling to other people. She has a way of thinking that I cannot understand. And my father-in-law, who doesn't stop her. Sometimes they work together, listening through the curtains to see what the neighbors are up to. Sometimes they argue with each other about what to do and what not to do. It is hell for me to live with such parents-in-law. My husband also has a tendency to look down on people just like his parents. I never saw a glimpse of this before we got married. I am sure he hid it from me. Since we got married, my husband has been talking down to people. I noticed negative comments such as,
"He's useless. He can't do his job,"
and so on. As long as he belongs to the company, he thinks that way. However, it is the company that has decided to hire these people. We have nothing to say to them. They are probably working for the same company because they are expected to have a certain level of ability. It is a waste of time to pay attention to such things. It's not good for your mental health. But my husband seems to be keeping himself alive by denying someone else. I was a little disappointed in such a husband too. And now that disappointment is swelling into something bigger. If my husband forces me to live with his parents now, I will divorce him. When his parents made some remarks about the floor plan, I remained quiet. Then my in-laws started to show their own face and gave their demands to the architect without telling me. I guess this is completely out of the question now. At the beginning, he was asking how I was doing at first, but he was relieved that I wasn't saying anything anymore. I guess he was relieved. After that, he allowed me to say whatever I wanted to, and to my in-laws. Then a new house was built that embodied 100% of my in-laws' wishes. My husband was busy with the moving process, but we managed to get it done. The move was scheduled for tomorrow.
"Well, let's go to our new house for a minute."
My husband smiled and spoke to me. "We're going tomorrow anyway."
"That's not going to happen. You have to watch where you put everything. Why aren't you so eager to do it?" "It's a new house, remember? I built this house for you."
"How dare you? Who would want to live in a house that doesn't reflect any of my opinions?"
"And besides, I'm also disappointed that you didn't go to check on the house even once. It's disappointing."
"Because I'm not interested."
"Huh?"
"I'm not interested in a new house."
"Oh, come on. Don't say that. You're making me angry."
My husband is quite excited about the new house, and I'm down in the dumps.
"Anyway, let's go."
If this is the way it's going to be, I'll go. and when we arrived at the new house, we found that our familiar belongings had already been moved in. I knew it. Then my husband ran up the stairs and brought his parents who were waiting for him.
My parents are coming to live with us today, okay?
He said that? He really said it. Yes, then we're divorced. I still had about a micron of hope. My husband would keep his promise to me, I thought. This was a faint hope. I had nothing more to wonder about, but I decided to keep an eye on him for a while.
Hey, Clara, why are you being so quiet? The house is finished, so congratulations, right?
Not at all.
Oh, why not?
Because the no-good husband didn't keep his promise.
What?
You didn't keep your own promise.
Hugh, what are you talking about?
Hey, you idiot. Do you remember our promise?
What are you talking about?
Oh, you are aware that you are no good. I said I didn't want to live with your parents. And you told me that you wouldn't live with your parents either. Remember that?
This place. This is the house I built with my money.
So what?
I decide who lives in that house.
Oh, so?
I'm the one who decided to move in with my parents. You'll have to follow that.
So your promise to me was a lie?
Yes, I did. Because if I didn't say so, the house wouldn't be built.
Well, I don't understand what you mean by the house won't be built. So you lied to me when you said you would build a house for me?
No, it's true, I like you. But my parents are important too, so I'm sorry.
I see.
Clara, yes.
Then I'm getting a divorce.
Huh? Wait, that's so sudden. See, that thing.
My husband was more flustered than I had never seen him before, but it was my mother-in-law who spoke up here. Hey, Daniel, don't get upset. You're pathetic. You know what your mom always says, a wife listens to her husband. That's fine, she's divorcing you. It's outrageous for a wife to disobey her husband. If you don't like it, just leave.
No, well, that's true.
I'm not asking you to leave. I'm already divorced, so it's inevitable that I'll have to leave. You're a woman of few words. I didn't like her from the beginning. What a coincidence. I hated you from the very beginning, too. Just one last thing. Do you think you can pay the mortgage on this house with just Daniel's income?
Huh?
I knew it. You're mistaken that Daniel's income is enough to make it work. This house is in Daniel's name and the loan is in his name. He's borrowing the full amount calculated from his income. If we pay the loan with his income, who is going to cover the living expenses? Daniel also seems to have forgotten. It was me who would make the living expenses. You guys are already living on pensions, right? Poor you. You could be living in a new house. But you're going to have to pay for 3 people's living expenses with your pension. I'm sorry to hear that. No, Daniel, what's going on? You said you weren't going to collect a single penny from us.
That's, well...
Well then, it's no longer any of my business, so I'll be going. I left the place gallantly. The next day's move was actually already arranged so that only my belongings would be sent to my parents' house. I didn't want to give up hope about my husband until the very end, but given the reality of the situation, I think this was the right decision. After that, my husband and in-laws must have understood the reality of life not standing still in front of them. They came close to me afterwards, but their idea was to live together. There was no way I would accept that. But that is not the important thing. It was that they neglected me in favor of their own ideals. Besides, my personality is such that what I decide is unwavering, no matter what anyone says. In the end, the divorce took 6 months, but we managed to finalize it. After that, the newly built property seemed to have been given away, and less than 2 years after its completion, it was listed as an auction property. It seems they couldn't pay the loan after all. It's only natural, isn't it? Because I was calculating the money with 2 horsepower. I work for a real estate company, so it is one of my daily routines to check auction properties every step of the way. It was a relief to see that house come up for sale. I feel like my divorce is finally settled. I am currently building my own home. I'm single and building my own home, which smells like I'm going to be single for the rest of my life, but I'm fine with that. I am very particular. I'm sure that marriage will not work out for me. I will continue to enjoy being single.